Hello, I'm Fizzy and welcome to another League Race video on Project Cars. This is the AOR GT3 Elite League once again on the PC version of the game, and we are here at the Nürburgring, a lovely track in my McLaren 12C GT3 car, starting my best qualifying lap of the session ahead of this league race, which will turn out to be quite clearly my best qualifying lap of the season. Only a short 6 race season, of course, but what we're seeing right now is my best qualifying lap of the season, both in terms of how good it felt and my position on the grid, and most definitely in terms of the distance from me to the man who took pole in the end. You will get to see the gap, of course, at the end of the lap, but we are quite late in the session, only 2 minutes to go, and you can see I was just under 2 tenths, well, just over 1 tenth up on my previous lap in this session, which was already pretty good, to be honest. Good enough for P5 on the grid so far, out of 12 drivers. Not too big a grid for this race at Nürburgring, only 12 drivers attending, but still P5 is pretty solid. So here we go then, halfway through the lap now, going through this lovely Schumacher-S corner. That is flat out as long as you get the line right, taking a bit of curb. The car can get unsettled over the curbs there. And then into this corner, and we're now 2.5 tenths up on my previous lap, which was at 1:58.3, and I'm pretty sure that was already a PB for me, to be honest, so improving on that PB as it stands. And of course remember that my qualifying laps so far this season have been quite varying. I mean, they've been improving. Obviously for the first race at Road America, when I had not done much practice, I was 3.5 seconds off pole, and then in the second race at Spa I was 1.8 seconds off pole, and then last time out at the Watkins Glen I was 1.2 seconds off. So let's see if I can get within a second here at least. You can see I've come towards the line, and the lap is 1:55.8, which I was really happy with, as you can see, weaving the wheel almost as if I've won a race or something. But that lap put me third on the grid, only, well, just under 5 tenths of a second off Jeppa, who got pole 3,000ths of a second. He was ahead of Brownski in second. But for me to start third on the grid with that close to pole is certainly by far my best pole lap. Well, not pole lap, my best qualifying lap of the season. But now we're going to jump straight onto the grid. 12 drivers here ready for a 30 lap race, which is going to take around about an hour. And let's see if we've improved on our starts from previous races. Yep, it looks like it. We haven't lost any positions immediately, though there is an Aston Martin that's trying to squeeze through, but he can't get up the inside. I could have gone even more defensive there, but at least he did manage to squeeze through. I think I might have jumped up to second. I'm not completely sure at this point where the guy, I think there's a car alongside me. The guy started in second, which was Andrex. He is on my inside at the moment. It's very hard to see him, as you can see. It's kind of in my blind spot, but I just know that he's there, and there he goes on the inside line. And actually Andrex did not start second. Brownski, who did start second, he's behind me at this point, so Andrex has moved up, but now he's gone off the track. Andrex has, and I'm up to second. And yeah, so that's that was a bit of a contact there. There was a bit of a touch, and Brownski's through. I honestly turned towards the right of the track there because I had no idea that Brownski was there on my right hand side. Because as you can see at the top of the screen, I have at this point forgotten to turn my rear view mirror on, because for some reason the game does not seem to remember what HUD setting I was using when you go between the sessions. So I have to turn it on every time when I start a race, and here we go, I've just done it there. So now we can see the cars behind, and there is that Aston Martin that tried to pass me off the line. He's now in fourth in fact, I'm in third. That is Martin van der Bent, who is in third, and he's finished on the podium in all of the 3 first races. I know he, just like Brownski, who is now leading, who is also leading the championship, I believe, who is just ahead of me now. He's also certainly a very fast guy. And Jeppa, who seems to be running away out in front at the moment after taking pole position. He is also really fast. I'm surrounded by great GT3 drivers at the moment, and that's obviously what I'd like to think that you'll expect from a top tier league. In AOR, the top drivers would be pretty damn good, but at least for the first lap here I've been able to mix it up with them. You know, obviously my pace so far this season hasn't been quite up there with the best, and I'm not really expecting to be up here for the entire race either, to be honest, because as I mentioned last time out of Watkins Glen, this McLaren is faster for me in qualifying than it is on race pace. because in qualifying I can run a little bit lower tire pressures and also the soft tires, whereas I'm now in the race conditions running the medium tires and also higher tire pressures because of tire wear issues. Basically, I cannot make it work with only one stopper if I use the soft tires on this car, and you do not want to be doing 2 stoppers really when everyone else is doing 1 stopper. So I'm having to use a slower medium tire to make that work. As Martin van der Bent is now all over me, to be honest, and he's gone on the inside there, I believe. So we're gonna go side by side into this corner. Van der Bent on the inside, and I've just slotted in behind him. To be honest, I realized that it's not too much point fighting too hard when I know that he is a faster driver. I mean, I did out-qualify him, but on race pace so far this season, he has clearly been faster. And as we've skipped on a couple of laps, actually 1 lap on, as I've gone almost sideways through that corner, not really making that work at all through that corner. And the car behind now, who is Pedro RC, is all over me. He's driving the same car as me in the McLaren, so he might be on similar tires and stuff like that. If I cannot make the soft tires work for 1 stopper, then hopefully he can't either. But now I messed up another corner, gone really wide onto the curb on the outside, and here we go again with this car. Like, it's been hard to see where people are. Yeah, you can see just as I looked over there, Pedro is in kind of my blind spot at the moment on the left. So let's see if he's still there when he reaches again. I'm just gonna break up my normal place, and Pedro did break a little bit later, so it looks like he's got that 4th place in the bag at the moment. And of course, with those 2 mistakes I made on that lap, the guys that I was battling with briefly for a podium position had kind of run away. And as we now skipped quite a few laps further on to lap 10, you can see that the top 3 have gone into the distance, and I'm now in a 3-way battle for 4th with Pedro just ahead, and Maisie CZ, who some of you might remember from the F1 leagues, obviously on the Xbox 360 in the past, who has moved over to PC for this GT3 league, which is nice to see, as I'm now all over Pedro. After he was looking really fast actually for the few laps after he passed me, he has now seemingly started to struggle a bit. And we might have a chance to pass him back in a second, although it looks like he's got a slightly better straight line speed and at least the inside line into the chicane. So we're still sitting around in 5th, and I have a feeling that this 3-way fight is going to go on for a bit. And well, it looks like 4th place at the moment is the best that I can kind of hope for, with the top 3 kind of in the class of their own on race pace by the looks of it. So starting lap 11 now and skipping a bit further on into the lap, and we've gone very deep at the chicane now, a bit too deep, and got a really bad exit, as did Pedro. But Maisie, who was just behind, he got a great exit. He seemed to have nailed the chicane, and he just sneaked up the inside, and I believe we're going side by side through the corner. Once again I can't see him, and there he is, Maisie in his roof, pulling ahead out of the last corner onto the main straight. But I seem to be gaining a bit of speed on him though on the actual straight. I don't know if it's down to the setup or the car, but I've definitely seemed to have more straight line speed than Maisie. But I've once again braked a little bit too late. Just a little bit scared there for a second to maybe be hitting Pedro, but I've managed to hold on from Maisie just about. But I think both me and Pedro at the moment are really feeling the pressure from Maisie. He seems to be a tiny bit faster than both of us, to be honest, at this point of the race. And once again, I've just gone a bit too deep in that corner. I'm starting to struggle a bit. Obviously, we're getting towards the middle part of the race, and this is where the tires will start to drop off, and we're going to have to think about going in for a tire change pretty soon. Once again, I have to go defensive from Maisie. But we're holding on, unless Maisie want to dive up the inside there. It looks like he has done, because his car was in the rear view mirror, and then he wasn't. So I've left him room just in case he was there, which I believe he was. But once again, we managed to get a good exit and pull away from him on the straight. So, man, we're hanging on to 5th by the skin of our teeth, but not anymore, I don't think, because we've had an absolutely almighty slide through that, well, I'm going to call it a hairpin. It's quite kind of a long hairpin, and yeah, drops to 6th now after doing quite a bit of a rally drift to that corner. Didn't really want to be doing that. And now at the end of the lap, Maisie has put pressure on Pedro as well, and looks to be passing him actually going onto the main straight. It'll be interesting to see if Pedro, like me, has the straight line speed on Maisie, and it looks like he does, because he's pulling alongside again down towards turn 1. But Maisie seems to be closer than he was when battling me, and he has the inside line, and Pedro's gone very deep, and Maisie's gone very tight. So I've tried to kind of do a bit of a cut back there to get a better line through the corner, but it wasn't really anywhere to go. And those guys were too far ahead anyway. So Maisie though has pulled off the overtake for 4th on Pedro, so not good for the McLarens. Obviously me and Pedro in the McLaren team together, along with a few of the other guys, and both of us getting passed by the roof, so not ideal. And as well, us three in this battle have to be wary of the cars behind. There are, as you can see on the minimap, 2 cars not far behind. The car in 7th at the moment being Poppleton. And Pedro now has messed up that corner a little bit. He's gone very wide once again, and I have got a run out coming towards that long hairpin that I was talking about. We've got the inside line, but Pedro seems to have got better straight line speed than me as well, to be honest. But he's gone again very deep, messed up the braking for that corner by the looks of it, and now managed to take that position. So on the previous lap I lost out to Maisie by sliding through that corner, and now I've gained a position because Pedro went wide on the same corner. So here we go then, into the pit lane. At the end of lap 15, the halfway point of the race, Pedro actually went in on the lap earlier than this. And here we go, the annoying thing about Project Cars before the recent patches. Obviously this was over a month ago that this race actually happened from when I'm commentating on it. But you can see I'm having to adjust the tire pressure on every tire because it just doesn't remember the settings that you put before the race for the pit strategy. And also had to adjust the fuel amount just to make sure I don't get added any fuel, because I don't want any fuel to be added, because I started the race with a full enough tank to go the entire distance. And obviously it gets a bit stressful when you have to mess around with those settings while driving down the pit lane, because if you don't finish it before you reach your pit box, you will lose time basically. But we managed to do it on this occasion, and we had a good stop. No fuel has been added. The tires though have been changed, and we've rejoined the track exactly where we were, despite a few cars going past us actually. So we rejoined the track in 5th, but with Maisie nowhere to be seen, and Poppleton as well just behind. So Pedro and Maisie seem to have disappeared basically, and it did turn out in the end that they had some issues with their pit stops. I do believe the game ended up adding fuel to their cars despite, you know, them not wanting to. So that obviously cost them a lot of time in the pit stops, and now you can see that I've moved up to 4th because another car was in the pit. So as a result of Maisie and Pedro were suffering problems, that has sadly ended that great battle that we were having for 4th, and I've kind of inherited that position by default in a way. And on the next 10 laps there was not much action for me until lap 27, when I completely lost the car going out of that corner. So nearly hit the barrier there. I think I touched it a tiny bit, but we've taken ages to get the car straightened up and back onto the track. And man, it was looking like a lonely race for me to 4th, a pretty straightforward end to the race for me, but I've completely messed it up by just losing the car coming out that corner. And now you can see on the timing in the bottom left that Andrex is now less than 2 seconds behind me. And you can see him there as well as I looked behind, so I might well and truly have thrown away an easy 4th place finish here by making that mistake, and obviously now I really can't afford to make another one, certainly not another big one anyway. And with only a lap and a half to go, Andrex has managed to close that gap to just 0.2 of a second. Is right up my rear spoiler basically at this point, really putting that pressure on in the middle part of this lap, in what is basically the battle to be the lead McLaren in this race, as the top 3 are either in a BMW or an Aston Martin. And I've messed up that corner going onto that huge exit curb just as I did at the start of the race, and now we've been put on the back foot through the next corner as well, onto the back straight, with Andrex managing to take a wider entry and therefore performing a bit of a cutback, and he's now side by side. I do believe I'm leaving him space on the exit, well not an exit, but on the middle kink of that straight. But I have the inside line, so I just need to nail the braking into the chicane, because you don't want to go too wide into here, and Andrex wisely backs out of it and lets me stay ahead for now. I'm sure he'll come back at me again, but for now I managed to defend. And obviously as well, we are towards the end of a tyre stint here, so it is really hard to drive, especially this McLaren, which is hard on the tyres. When you're coming towards the end of the stint, it's not very comfortable. The wheel is shaking a bit on the straights, and the lack of grip is starting to be felt through the corners.
Try and stop this guy getting underneath you. Cover that inside line.
And yeah, my engineer is urging me on to defend from Andrex, to cover the inside line, and that's what I'm going to be doing here. Keeping the inside line on the defensive into this corner, but Andrex just looks to have carried a lot more speed, and he has actually looked to the outside there, but then he's cut back. Oh, but I've got an oversteer as well. I think it would have been fine if I just managed to get a good exit, but I was too heavy on the throttle and got oversteer, and now it's side by side into the long hairpin. I think I locked up slightly there, gone a little bit deep. Andrex held it around the outside, and I just wasn't able to hang on. I don't know if Andrex has been on a different strategy, or if he's on the better, more durable tyres at this stage, but I seem to be struggling a bit compared to him on pace. And Andrex, of course, the guy who spun off right at the start of the race after getting up to second. So he has seemingly had a good comeback to pass me here now on the final lap. So there are only a few corners for me to try and get back at him if I do have an answer for this. I ran a little bit too wide, nearly stuck a wheel in the gravel there, and I do not seem to be close enough on the back straight now, coming towards the chicane to get an attempt to repass him. Not really gaining in a straight line despite having a bit of slipstream, trying to brake as late as good just to potentially just you know, put the pressure on, hoping he makes some kind of mistake. But again, I just couldn't get the exit I wanted, and Andrex now has one corner to hold on for 4th position, even though the game is now saying he's in 6th for some reason and I'm in 7th, but that's some kind of bug, because I am definitely finishing this race in 5th place. After some fun battling in the first stint, unfortunately Maisie and Pedro dropped back, and then seemingly having 4th in the bag, but then making that big mistake, dropping back into the clutches of Andrex, and in the end not being able to hang on. But 5th still is a solid result. Race pace just wasn't there to battle for anything higher than 4th. And you can see at the top of the results there, Brownski missing out on the win to Martin van der Bent by 7/10 of a second. Martin van der Bent then getting his first win of the season in his 4th attempt. He's been on the podium in every race as well, so very impressive for him. Jeppe, unfortunately, from pole dropped back. I believe he's had some kind of issue, maybe in the pits as well. I'm not completely sure. And as for the standings then, let's see where we are. 6th position still. I'm pretty sure that's where we were as well after the previous race. So we've stayed put in 6th with that 5th place, with 11 points up to 5th and 12 points down to 7th. So I gotta be looking up, of course, rather than down, hopefully, in the last couple of races, especially as Onage, currently sitting in 3rd, unfortunately pulled out of the league after the 3rd race, which would explain why he was not here at Nürburgring, for those who might have been wondering about that. So if I can manage to get another 18 points for the last 2 races, at least I'll be moving above him. That's it then, from round 4 out of 6 in this first season of the AOR GT3 Elite League on the PC platform. I do hope you enjoyed the race. It was certainly an interesting one from my point of view, a bit of ups and downs really throughout the race, and sadly with the battle that ended a bit prematurely because of other guys having issues in the pit stops, but hopefully we'll have a chance to get some more good battling in at the next race at Brno, which is a Czech circuit which I've never ever driven at before, so very intrigued about going there for the first time and seeing what that track is like. So I hope you will join me for that, and until then, I'll see you later. Goodbye.